Welcome back to our channel.
I am Lisa.
And I am Eric. Whether you're just starting your English journey or looking to improve your skills, this podcast is perfect for you.
So let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words today, Eric?
The first word today is stunning. Then we will continue with distinct and in spite of something. Then to come up. And the final one is bite the bullet.
So let's start with the first word.
The first word is stunning.
Stunning.
Stunning. Stunning is an adjective that describes something extremely impressive, beautiful, or surprising. We use it to talk about things that are so amazing they make us stop and look. For example, the sunset over the ocean was stunning.
It means that the sunset was so beautiful that it amazed people who saw it. It was really impressive.
Exactly. Now it's your turn, Lisa.
Okay, here's my example. She wore a stunning red dress to the party. It means that her dress was so beautiful and impressive that everyone noticed it and admired it.
Now let's talk about how to use this word. Stunning is an adjective, so we use it before nouns. For example, a stunning view, or the actress is stunning.
Good point, Eric. Now let's listen to a short dialogue using our word stunning.
Hey Jack, have you seen the new art gallery downtown?
No, I haven't. Is it worth visiting?
Absolutely. The paintings are stunning. I've never seen anything like them.
Really? That sounds interesting. What kind of art is it?
It's modern art. The colors are so vibrant and the designs are stunning. You should definitely go see it.
That was a great dialogue. Emma used our word stunning twice to describe the art.
Yes, she did. Eric, have you ever seen something that you would describe as stunning?
Yes, I have. Last year, I visited the Grand Canyon. The view was absolutely stunning. I couldn't believe my eyes.
That sounds amazing. I've never been there. What made it so stunning?
The size of it was incredible, and the colors of the rocks were beautiful. How about you, Lisa? What's the most stunning thing you've seen?
For me, it was the Northern Lights in Norway. The colors in the sky were stunning. It was like a magical light show.
Wow, that does sound stunning. I'd love to see that someday. Do you think stunning things are always natural, or can man-made things be stunning too?
I think both natural and man-made things can be stunning. For example, some buildings or pieces of art can be stunning.
That's true. It's interesting how different things can be stunning to different people.
You're right. What's stunning to one person might be ordinary to another. It depends on our experiences and what we find impressive.
That's a good point, Lisa. It really depends on people's preferences.
Well, that's all we have time for with our word stunning. Let's move on to our next word.
The next word is distinct.
Distinct.
Distinct. Distinct means clearly different or separate from something else. If two things are distinct, you can easily see their differences.
Oh, I see. Can you give us an example sentence, Eric?
Sure, for example, the twins have distinct personalities. It means that the twins who look alike behave in very different ways. One might be quiet and shy, while the other is loud and outgoing. Their personalities are not the same. They are distinct.
Thanks, Eric. I'll give the second example. The two paintings are distinct from each other. It means that the two paintings do not look the same at all. They have different colors, styles, and subjects. You can easily tell them apart. They are distinct.
Great explanations, Lisa. Now, let's talk about a small grammar point. When we use distinct, we often use it with the preposition from. For example, we say distinct from something.
Yes, that's important to know. Now let's move on to our sample dialogue.
Wow, Jane, these two paintings are so different. One is full of bright colors, and the other one is very dark.
Yes, Tom. They are quite distinct from each other. The first one makes me feel happy, and the second one feels a bit sad.
I agree. The styles are distinct too. The first one is abstract, and the second one is realistic.
Exactly. Even the emotions they evoke are distinct.
That was a nice dialogue. What do you think, Lisa?
I liked it. It shows how we can use distinct to talk about differences. Eric, do you think it's easy to see when something is distinct?
Sometimes it is, especially when the differences are big, but other times you have to look carefully. What about you, Lisa? Can you think of something distinct in your daily life?
Yes, my two cats are distinct. One is very playful and the other is very lazy. They also have distinct colors. One is black and the other is white.
That's a good example. It shows how distinct can describe both behavior and appearance.
Exactly. I hope our listeners now understand the word distinct better.
Me too. Remember, when you see or feel something is clearly different, you can use the word distinct.
Good summary, Eric. Okay, what is the next word, Eric?
The next word is in spite of something.
In spite of something.
In spite of something. In spite of something is a phrase we use to show that something happens even though there is a problem or difficulty. It's similar to despite. For example, in spite of the rain, we enjoyed our picnic.
Good example. It means that even though it was raining, which usually makes picnics difficult, you still had a good time at our picnic. Here's my example. In spite of his fear of heights, Tom climbed the mountain. This means that Tom was afraid of heights, but he still managed to climb the mountain.
Now, let's talk about how to use this phrase. In spite of is always followed by a noun or a noun phrase. If we want to use it with a verb, we need to add ing to the verb. For example, we can say, in spite of the difficulty, in spite of being tired, or in spite of raining yesterday.
Good point, Eric. Now let's listen to a short dialogue using our phrase, in spite of.
Hi, Mike. How was your vacation?
It was great, thanks. In spite of the bad weather, we had a lot of fun.
Oh no, was it raining the whole time?
Yes, but as I said, in spite of the rain, we visited many interesting places.
That's good to hear. I'm glad you enjoyed your trip in spite of facing the weather problems.
That was a great dialogue. Mike and Sarah used our phrase, in spite of, several times.
Yes, they did. Eric, can you think of a time when you did something in spite of a difficulty?
Last year, I ran a marathon in spite of having a cold. It was hard, but I finished the race.
Wow, that's impressive. How did you feel after the race?
I was very tired, but also proud. It was really difficult to finish the marathon. So, how about you, Lisa? Have you ever done something in spite of a problem?
Yes, I have. I once gave a presentation in spite of being very nervous. It wasn't easy, but I did it.
That's great, Lisa. Do you think it's always good to do things in spite of problems?
That's a good question. I think sometimes it's good because it makes us stronger. But sometimes it might be better to wait until the problem is gone.
I agree. Can you think of a time when it's better not to do something in spite of a problem?
Well, if you're very sick, it's probably better not to go to work in spite of having important things to do. Health is more important.
That's a good point. It's important to take care of ourselves. Well, that's all we have time for with our phrase, in spite of. Let's move on to our next word.
Sounds good, Eric. In spite of the time limit, I think we explained this phrase well.
I think so, Lisa. Okay, the next word is to come up.
To come up.
To come up.
Let's explain what to come up means. To come up is a phrasal verb with several meanings. Today, we'll focus on two common meanings: to arise or happen unexpectedly, and to approach or near something.
That's right, Lisa. Now, let me give an example sentence. Something important came up at work, so I had to cancel our plans. It means that an unexpected or urgent situation happened at work, so you couldn't keep your original plans.
Here's my example. As we came up to the house, we saw balloons and decorations. It means that as you get closer and approach the house, you notice the balloons and decorations.
Now, let's talk about how to use this phrasal verb. To come up doesn't need a preposition after it, but it can be separated in some cases. For example, we can say, a problem came up, or something came up.
That's right. And when we use it to mean approach, we often use to after it. Like came up to the house.
Good point, Lisa. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using our phrasal verb to come up.
Hey Emma, are you ready for the party tonight?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Tom. Something came up and I can't make it.
Really? What happened?
My sister just called. She's coming to town unexpectedly and she'll be here soon.
I see. Well, these things come up sometimes. Maybe you can come up to the party later if you have time.
Thanks, Tom. I'll try to come for a little while if I can.
That was a great dialogue. Tom and Emma used our phrasal verb to come up in different ways.
Yes, they did. Do unexpected things often come up in your life, Lisa?
Sometimes, yes. Last month, an opportunity to join a new project at work came up. I decided to take it.
That sounds exciting. Do you like it when new things come up, or do you prefer when things go as planned?
I like a mix of both. It's nice when things go as planned, but sometimes unexpected things that come up can be fun or interesting.
I agree. Depends on what comes up.
Exactly. Well, that's all we have time for with our phrasal verb, to come up. Let's move on to our last word.
Sounds good, Lisa. I hope nothing unexpected comes up before we finish our podcast.
I hope so, Eric.
Okay, the last word is bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet. This phrase is an idiom and it means to do something difficult or unpleasant that you've been avoiding, but you know you must do it.
That's right, Eric. When we bite the bullet, we decide to face a tough situation instead of putting it off. Let's give some examples to help our listeners understand better.
Sure. Here's my example. I finally bit the bullet and went to the dentist. It means that I decided to go to the dentist even though I didn't want to because I knew it was necessary.
Good example. Here's mine. She bit the bullet and told her boss she was quitting. It means that she finally told her boss she was leaving her job even though it was hard to do.
Now, let's use bite the bullet in a short dialogue.
Hey Emma, have you started packing for your move yet?
Not yet, Tom. I've been putting it off because it's such a big job.
I understand, but you're moving next week. Maybe it's time to bite the bullet and start packing.
You're right. I need to bite the bullet and get it done. Can you help me this weekend?
That was a good dialogue, Lisa. It shows how we use bite the bullet when we decide to do something difficult.
Yes, it does. Eric, have you ever had to bite the bullet for something?
Yes, Lisa. Last month, I had to bite the bullet and clean out my garage. I had been avoiding it for a long time. It was hard work, but I was happy I finally did it. The garage looks much better now.
That's often how we feel after we bite the bullet. It's hard at first, but we feel good afterward. Do you think it's always good to bite the bullet, Eric?
Well, Lisa, usually it is. But if you're unsure about a big decision, like changing jobs, it might be better to think about it more before making it.
Well said, Eric. Sometimes we need more time to make important choices.
Well, that's all we have time for with our idiom Bite the Bullet and our podcast.
We hope you learned something new today.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. I am Lisa.
And I am Eric. If you want to improve your English, this podcast is perfect for you.
So, let's get started and make English learning easy.
Before we continue, I would like to tell our followers that if there are any words, idioms, or phrasal verbs that they would like to learn, they can write them in the comments section so that we can easily explain them in the next episodes. One of our followers requested that we explain one of today's words, lead to. We'll explain it in this podcast. His name is Afshan Farouk. Thank you for your contribution, Afshan Farouk.
Great news! Yes, followers, we can't wait to hear the words you want us to explain. Okay, let's start, Eric.
The first word today is cruel. Then we will continue with to brag and take part in something. Then lead to something. And the final one is beat around the bush. The first word is cruel.
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 Cruel means very unkind and causing pain or suffering to others on purpose.
That's right, Lisa. When someone is cruel, they do things that hurt other people or animals, and they don't care about the pain they cause. Let's give some examples to help our listeners understand better.
Here's an example. It is cruel to laugh at someone when they are sad. It means that making fun of someone who is feeling sad is very unkind and hurtful.
Good example. Here's mine. It's cruel to leave a dog outside in very cold weather. It means that leaving a dog in the cold is very unkind and can cause the dog to suffer, which is not right.
Good example, Eric.
Now, let's talk a bit about the grammar. Cruel is an adjective, so it describes a noun. We often use to after cruel to show who or what is affected. For example, cruel to animals, or cruel to each other.
Yes, that's important to remember. Now, let's use cruel in a short dialogue.
Hey Sarah, did you hear about the new rules at the animal shelter?
No, Tom. What's happening?
They're going to punish people who are cruel to animals.
Being cruel to animals is terrible. What kind of punishment will they get?
I'm not sure, but I hope it stops people from being cruel to helpless animals.
Me too. No one should be cruel to any living thing.
That was a good dialogue, Lisa.
Yes, it does. Eric, have you ever seen someone being cruel?
Unfortunately, yes, Lisa. Once I saw a group of kids being cruel to a cat. They were throwing stones at it.
Oh no, that's terrible. What did you do?
I told them to stop and explained why it was cruel. Then I helped the cat find a safe place.
That was kind of you, Eric. It's important to speak up when we see cruel behavior.
You're right, Lisa. It's important for our listeners to know that we can use cruel to describe people, actions, or situations.
Good point, Eric. And we often use cruel to when talking about who or what is affected. For example, he was cruel to his little sister.
I think our listeners now understand what cruel means and why it's so important to be kind instead.
Yes, I agree. They can use this word to describe very unkind actions or people, but let's hope they don't see cruelty often.
Absolutely, Lisa. Kindness is always better than cruelty.
Well said, Eric. Shall we move on to our next word?
Let's do that. We've explained cruel well, and our listeners are ready for a new word to learn. Okay, the next word is to brag.
To brag.
To brag. To brag means to talk proudly about your success or possessions in a way that makes other people feel impressed or jealous.
Got it. Can you give us an example sentence using to brag?
Sure, here's an example. My friend always brags about his new car and how much it costs. It means that my friend is talking proudly about his new car and how expensive it is in a way that makes other people feel impressed or jealous.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let me give another example sentence. She brags about her perfect grades, but she never helps anyone else in the class. It means that she talks proudly about her good grades, but she doesn't help her classmates who might be struggling.
It's a great example. One thing to note is that to brag is usually used with the preposition about. Someone brag about something.
Good point. All right, let's move on to a sample dialogue using the word to brag.
Did you hear that? John got a new job at a big tech company?
Yeah, I did. He's been bragging about it non-stop on social media.
I know, it's so annoying. He acts like he's the only one who's ever gotten a good job.
Exactly. He needs to learn that. Not everyone wants to hear him brag all the time.
Totally. I'm happy for him, but he could be a little more humble about it.
Okay, that's a useful example of using to brag in a conversation. Let's talk about the dialogue.
The dialogue really showed how to brag can make others feel annoyed. What do you think about people who brag a lot, Lisa?
Well, I think it's fine to be proud of your achievements. But you have to be careful not to make others feel bad or left out. Bragging too much can be really annoying sometimes.
Definitely. It's all about finding the right balance between being proud of yourself and not appearing arrogant. The most proper approach is to celebrate your achievements without making others feel disturbed.
Exactly. I think the key is to be humble and grateful instead of bragging. Know your achievements, but don't talk about them all the time.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we've covered the word to brag pretty well in this episode.
Great job, Eric. Let's move on to the next one.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay, the next word is take part in something.
Take part in something.
Take part in is a phrasal verb. It means to be involved in an activity or event with other people. When we take part in something, we join or participate in it. For example, many students took part in the school play. This means that many students were involved in the play.
Good example. Here's mine. I like to take part in community events. It means that I enjoy joining and being involved in activities that happen in my community.
Now, let's use take part in a short dialogue.
Hi, Emma. Are you free this Saturday?
I'm not sure, Jack. Why do you ask?
There's a charity run in the park. I was wondering if you'd like to take part in it with me.
That sounds fun. I've never taken part in a charity run before. What do I need to do?
Just bring comfortable clothes and shoes. Anyone can take part in the run, even if they're not fast runners.
That was a nice dialogue, Lisa. It shows how we use take part in to talk about joining activities.
Yes, it does. Eric, what kinds of activities do you like to take part in?
I enjoy taking part in sports events. Last month, I took part in a local soccer tournament. How about you?
That sounds fun. I like to take part in cooking classes. I took part in a baking class last week and learned to make bread.
That's interesting. It's important for our listeners to know that we usually use a noun or noun phrase. For example, take part in a race or take part in the discussion.
So our listeners can use this phrase for many different situations?
Exactly. It's a very useful phrase for talking about joining any kind of activity.
I think taking part in things is a great way to meet new people and learn new skills. Don't you agree, Eric?
Absolutely, Lisa. Taking part in activities helps us make friends and try new experiences.
Well, I think our listeners now have a good understanding of how to use take part in correctly. Shall we move on to our next word?
Yes, we've covered take part in well, and our listeners are ready for the next challenge. The next word is lead to something.
Lead to something.
Lead to something.
Lead to something means to cause something to happen or to result in something. It is often used to show that one thing causes another thing.
Yes, and it's important to note that lead is followed by the preposition to. Now, let's look at some example sentences.
I'll go first. Here is the first example sentence. Eating too much sugar can lead to health problems. It means that eating a lot of sugar can cause you to have problems with your health.
Now, I'll give another example. Studying hard can lead to good grades. It means that if you study a lot, you can get good grades in school.
Now, let's move on to a short dialogue that includes this phrase.
Hi, Mary. Did you know that exercising regularly can lead to a longer life?
Really? How does that work?
Well, exercising can lead to better health, and better health can lead to a longer life.
That makes sense. I should start exercising more often.
That was a good example dialogue. Now, let's talk about it. Eric, do you think exercising regularly is important?
Yes, I do. Exercising can lead to many positive things, like better health and more energy.
I agree. Exercise can lead to a happier life because when you are healthy, you feel good. Do you exercise regularly, Eric?
Yes, I try to exercise at least 3 times a week. It helps me stay fit. How about you, Lisa?
I also try to exercise regularly. I usually go for a run in the morning. Running helps me start my day with energy.
That's great. So we both know that exercising can lead to good things. Is there anything else you think can lead to a happier life?
I think spending time with family and friends can lead to happiness. When you are with people you love, you feel happy. What do you think, Eric?
I agree. Having good relationships with family and friends can lead to a lot of joy and support in life.
So, to summarize, lead to something means to cause something to happen. For example, exercising can lead to better health, and his actions could lead to him losing his job.
That's right. And remember, lead is followed by the preposition to.
Well, let's move on to our last word today. What's the last word, Eric?
The last word of today is beat around the bush.
Beat around the bush.
Beat around the bush means to avoid talking about something directly. Instead of saying what you really want to say, you talk about other things. It is an idiom, which means the words together have a special meaning. Now, let's look at some example sentences. Don't beat around the bush and tell me what you want. It means that someone should stop avoiding the main topic and say what they really mean.
Now, I'll give another example. When asked about the problem, he just beat around the bush. It means that he did not give a direct answer to the question about the problem.
Let's move on to a short dialogue that includes this phrase.
Tom, do you like my new dress?
Well, it's very, interesting.
Stop beating around the bush, Tom. Do you like it or not?
Okay, I don't really like it. I think another color would suit you better.
That was a good example of dialogue. Now, let's talk about it. Eric, do you think it's always good to be direct?
Not always. Being direct can be good, but sometimes it's better to be gentle with our words. How do you feel about that, Lisa?
I think it depends on the situation. In some cases, being direct can help solve problems quickly. In other cases, it might be better to beat around the bush a little to be kind.
Yes, that's true. So we both agree that beat around the bush means to avoid saying something directly. It can be useful in some situations, but not always the best approach.
That's right. And remember, beat around the bush is an idiom, so the words together have a special meaning.
Well, we have reached the end of our podcast. We hope you have learned new words. See you next time.
Bye-bye.